This is Let Us Interrupt You, episode 180 here on Thursday, August 17th, 2023. Really busy day as far as traffic goes outside. It was quiet before I actually went live just now, which I was surprised. But unfortunately, it's starting to get a little bit louder out here. So I got to talk a little bit louder out here to try to keep the volume up here. News agenda on the day. I just got a little Oreo protein ball in my mouth. I probably should have said this protein ball throughout my workout tonight because I'm going to work out right after this. Nothing really special news here wise. I'll give you the rundown of the NFL news and highlights. Tonight's Browns-Eagles. We know in a joint practice this week that Deshaun Watson threw 3 interceptions to Reed Blankenship during joint practices. And I guess the Eagles lineman took some shots at Deshaun Watson, I guess verbally and physically. All you need to know about that is that the Cleveland Browns defended him as much as they could. Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward were shaken up earlier this week. And other than that, I mean, there's not really much else to tell about that story this week other than you think about what Deshaun Watson has really meant to a lot of Cleveland Brown fans, which is not much. They'd rather see Dorian Thompson-Robinson start. They'd rather see that kid play. They don't want Deshaun Watson on here because they don't want to make Ben Roethlisberger scandal on their hands. They don't want any part of Deshaun Watson. They never did. Watson doesn't want to play for them. That's pretty obvious. He's only there for the money. And you're looking at a guy right now who in the joint practices today struggled in practically every game that he played this week. So that's the objective here that you need to know here. The objective here, this whole story here is Deshaun Watson, the problem football player who practically got a raw deal beyond this Cleveland Brown team because nobody in Cleveland wants him to play at quarterback. That's pretty obvious. They're only going to defend him for the next 4 months, and then after that, that's it. They want no part of this guy after the season's over. That's the truth. And it's interesting, really, because if you think about what the Browns have done as far as, since Baker Mayfield left, they haven't really done much to improve that team. I mean, it's practically the same team since Baker Mayfield was on the team last. You got Philadelphia now who's coming in with Jalen Carter. He's expected to make his home debut against the Cleveland Browns tonight. A lot of AFC North opponents. I will say this. Last week was the Ravens. This week it's the Browns at home. Carter, I expect to make a really good impression here. I think he will get a sack on Watson tonight, a few tackles for a loss. I say a forced fumble in there as well. They're going to probably have him playing it until, I would say, mid-second quarter. I can't really see him doing anything else besides that. For Watson, I'd say he plays for about a little bit towards the end of the first quarter, and then the start of the second quarter, he gets nothing. I think Hurts plays a little bit in this game. I can't really imagine him seeing him play more than that, although they treat the second preseason week now like it's a third. So it's kind of weird. The whole preseason being shortened to 3 weeks, I don't like it that much because you need at least more than 4 weeks to figure this stuff out, I think. And sometimes it's hard to tell. It's obvious to some people, but sometimes the jobs that have to be given here and already know who they're going to get the job from day one, they already know it. So they don't need to have those 4 weeks. But to me, it's more preparation and it's less laziness towards the end of the season for the players, especially right around postseason. There's more people who are energized and ready to go come playoff time. When you jam 17, 18 weeks down someone's throat, it's never a good look. It never is. Patriots training practice, joint practice, and Lambeau Field yesterday took place. Mac Jones got screamed at yesterday by Bill Belichick. Nothing new there. Nothing new in that part. As far as what happened yesterday, I guess Mac messed up a play. Bill got pissed off, yelled at Mac Jones, and Mac's just there at this point to breathe in, breathe out, and as a veteran now that he's got Bill O'Brien in his corner. It's pretty obvious that the Bill Belichick and Mac Jones hate relationship still there. That's pretty obvious. He's got a tennis boy, rich, complex, mindset. with being on this football team, getting what he wants, the spoiled little brat that he is. And he was not great yesterday. It was a little bit more encouraging today. I guess Zach was great in the red zone. I guess yesterday, or it might have even been today. I think it was 4 sacks yesterday for today for Jones, and it was 4 sacks for Bailey Zappi. So, but Zappi was good in the red zone though, despite those sacks, and it looked promising. I'll give you that much. It looked promising for the most part. Otherwise, not much else to tell about this joint practice other than the fact right now the game's coming up Saturday night. They're playing the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. It's Mac Jones' first time starting. He'll probably be the starting quarterback going into that game. I can't imagine this kid sitting out another week at this point in the gun. So it's kind of like a wait and see kind of process at this point on what's going to end up happening. Otherwise, I mean, to have a bad day one day and have a good day the next, that's not consistent football. And the Green Bay Packers this year aren't even favored this year to do any big milestone things. They're not a playoff team favorite this year, although I do believe they could be a playoff team. A lot of people don't believe in that team. You know, I look at Matt LaFleur and I look at Jordan Love and I say to myself, that collaboration could work. It could. Because you are facing Jordan Love in the Green Bay Packers. Love basically exposed that Cincinnati Bengal defense, no matter how you look at it, the first series out. And I know what people are thinking. Oh, they didn't have the first team playing that game. They did. It was the first series. And it was one series to expose that defense. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. Anyway, Michael Orr was caught lying about the $300 million that he was owed. He didn't know about the contraventionship because apparently he mentioned it in his memoir 12 years ago, back in 2011. So he's a scumbag as far as I'm concerned. He's not a great player, and he actually kind of made me look like a fool in my own podcast here for actually defending him and all that stuff right now. And I actually forgot about this whole thing. I actually didn't realize at this point that once you have that contravention, you have no income coming your direction. And I kind of look at him thinking to myself, well, the whole movie covered his college career, so he shouldn't even been paid in college to begin with. And especially right around that time. So in reality, I don't know what this kid wanted out of this whole thing. Is it because of the fact that he has no job in the NFL and he just doesn't care? This is a guy that was a former Super Bowl champion who played for the Ravens and could have won another Super Bowl title with the likes of the Patriots and the Broncos. Instead, he chose Cam Newton. Look how that turned out. And no one's even heard from him since. So he's kind of useless at this point. You know what I mean? And honestly, at this point, you know, Michael Orr should be sued for defamation of character by that entire family. The fact that family had to go through a lot. And let me just say this on behalf of the Tui family, or myself in this podcast. I want to apologize to the Tui family. I kind of mentioned myself as part of that family. Whoops. Anyway, so that's that. Amar St. Brown and James Williams yesterday, the two Detroit Lions wide receivers, both went down yesterday. Williams had a hamstring injury. I think St. Brown had a leg injury. They both seem to be okay. Not much else to tell on that one. Armstead had to get carted off. He had an apparent leg injury, and Tyreek Hill saying that he is more important on the team than I am. That's a fact, because that is the guy's lucky horseshoe for Tua. That is the team's lucky horseshoe for a developing offensive line, because that's their best offensive line player they have. Forgive me, what's getting in my face. But anyway, but again, I you got to feel bad for Armstead. He's been, I think ever since he's been on this team, I think this has probably been the second time in 2 years that he's been injured while in camp, if I'm not mistaken. I hope the guy's all right. I really hope he is. I hope he's doing well for himself. Otherwise, that kind of sucks. If Armstead's out for the year, I'm worried for Tua. I really am. I'm actually worried for that kid more than people would know. So we got some more football news. I just got to open up my thing because I don't have the actual thing in front of me. I was able to manage to look at the screen for you guys for the last 10 minutes. I had to pull up my phone. My phone was not loading up. Joe Mixon found not guilty due to the aggravating menacing team touts. Popularity with fans, aggravated menacing, which is basically torturing kids with Nerf guns. That's what they was found not guilty for. Fans are happy. They can put this whole thing behind them. They can move on. I'm happy for Mixon. Good for him. A Hall of Fame NFL head coach Bill Cowher to be inducted in the North Carolina State Ring of Honor. This happened last week. This article came out. I did not see this article, so I'm just going to report it now. Great for Bill Cowher. Great for him. I'm not sure if he's already in the Pittsburgh Steelers Ring of Honor at this point, but if he's not, he should be. This is one of the greatest head coaches that the Steelers have had in a long time, and I think Cowher could have won more than one ring. I think Cowher could have coached another 5 or 10 years down the road. I don't know why he stopped coaching. I really don't get it at all. I don't even know what he was thinking, really, because and you're coming off a Super Bowl win, and you miss the playoffs the following year. I don't get that logic. Maybe Tom was looking into it. Maybe Tom wanted to be in quicker. I don't know, but it is what it is. Traylon Burks was carted off the field. He had a CAT scan done. It was an LCL sprain at practice. Will most likely miss a few weeks. He'll be back by week 1. Okay, there's no other way of looking at it. He'll be back by week 1. Lions running back David Montgomery, the former Chicago Bear, his girlfriend is facing a civil lawsuit over alleged pit bull attack. Not good news you want to hear right now for David Montgomery right now at this point. The story on this one here, and what it seems like at this point, is that the dog was clearly out of control. Causey was cited for ordinance violation for harboring a vicious animal when their dog Lola approached a cockapoo from Montgomery's driveway. The couple had moved to their new home a few days before the incident. Causey told the police that Lola escaped from the backyard. The pit bull grabbed the smaller dog's leg, and the owner scrambled to pick up the cockapoo from the ground. The incident reportedly resulted in the smaller dog suffering 2 leg fractures and required stitches. One of the owners, who identified himself as Mark Owens, during a Grosse Pointe Shores city council meeting on June 20th, said he suffered 2 puncture wounds on his left hand. He wore a sling during the meeting. He also said his wife had scars on her arm from leash burn, while their pet had undergone 2 surgeries and had its leg amputated. Oh, horrible news. This was written by Isabel Gonzalez, who wrote this report. All I gotta say is keep your dog in the house, get the dog muzzled, or set up for adoption. That's all I gotta tell you. And I'm a dog person. I hate saying that, but you know something? It's stuff like that just it really does make you wonder. It really does. Dolphins defensive end Christian Wilkins skipping full team practice while negotiating for a longer-term deal. I think he deserves it. The fact that he didn't get a long-term deal, but Bradley Chubb just got traded there and got signed a long-term extension, I just think that was dumb. That guy was more of a pillar to that defense than before Chubb even became an pitcher. And I didn't think they really needed Chubb to begin with, but whatever. Ravens safety Marlon Humphrey to undergo a foot surgery, expected to miss at least a month. That news front there is that's the news on that front there with that one. We'll look at the article. The next article I wanted to leave, which is Russell Gage, the wide receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, carted to the practice field with a season-ending injury, which was a torn ACL, or I think it was a torn Achilles. He's done for the year. It's unfortunate, but he is done for the year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Jack Jones facing a weapons charge, probable cause hearing pushed back to September 15th. So we'll know his fate by then, this freaking bee. Anyway, so that's the news front there, NFL-wise, as far as I know. Oh, and actually, there's one more news. Former Detroit Lions, Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Buddy Parker selected as a finalist for the 2024 Hall of Fame class. Robert Kraft got the boot, so he's no longer in the running for this. Kind of sad. Kind of sad to hear about that at this point. And Miley Cyrus and Harry Styles will be performing for the halftime show for this year's Super Bowl. So that's your news front here. That is your news front there now going forward. We have Joel Embiid removing the Philadelphia 76ers from his social media. with the Harden trade rumors circling around at this point, and James Harden at this point with his ridiculous MVP claim. So he thinks he's going to be the MVP this year, and his agent believes he might be delusional. I guess the rest of the NBA thinks he's delusional as well. So that's the news. That's that part of the news I want to get out there. There's actually one more NFL story here I got to cover here. Gronkowski said that Brian Daboll will be the one coach that would get him out of retirement. I say that would be interesting here. A Gronk Darren Waller move here, I'd say why not? I don't, and I heard another report saying that Gronk said, "quote I'm washed up at this point." I don't believe that for 1 second. I mean, I don't know how you can be washed up from after really just 2 years of retirement. I just don't get that at all. Maybe 5, 10, but 2, no. It's all a mystery. LaDainian Tomlinson retired from the NFL Network. He said, "I walked away from football at the age of 32. He posted this on his Twitter, by the way. "Today, at the age of 44, I've decided to retire from being on an on-air football analysis. I'd like to send my sincere appreciation and thanks to the NFL Network for 10 great years. Thanks to my colleagues and friends. It was a blast being able to stay close to the game, creating great football shows with you guys. Look forward to all the opportunities that this new chapter in my life will bring." So congrats to LT. He deserves a retirement. He's freaking beaten by it. It's probably because I'm next to this dumb plant charging my laptop. Anyway, now we're on to the baseball front. Yankees losing last night to the Atlanta Braves last night, 2-0. They are now below 500 for the first time since 1995, September 5th to be exact. So almost 28 years. They're this late in the game, below 500. And this goes back to the Yankees as a suffer now, depending on 2 players, Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. Or as I would like to call it, Barry Bonds 2.0 and Alex Rodriguez 2.0. Because this whole thing to me screams out at this point, who's the face of the organization here between Stanton and Judge? Come October, they never show up. They don't bother. They just choke. It's this weird mindset at this point. And with Judge this year, he's not been the MVP that people wanted to see this year. That's the reality. And the sad thing is this is a team at this point who's had a crap back year, who's in last place. Nobody expected this team to be in last place. Everybody thought this team was in second place at one point. They thought they would finish on the second behind the division of Tampa Bay. Toronto would come in third. Baltimore would come in fourth. Red Sox would be fifth place. Everybody knew that, and everybody was predicting that, and I was at that point too. But this is bad. This is bad. And the way I look at it right now, when you look at the factors going into it, with Derek Jeter sending Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees, how no one thought that was an ironic twist in this whole thing. Like, Jeter couldn't become the general manager of that team, so he becomes the Marlins, and basically, because let's be realistic here, the only reason he went to go live in Miami is because he wanted to party. He could have cared less about being a general manager for the Miami Marlins in the first place. He always wanted to be the general manager for the Yankees. Cashman wouldn't leave. And the reality of it was that when Jeter left, a part of that integrity and trying and establishing, it all disappeared. Now, it got better over time with Aaron Judge having to be drafted by the Yankees not that long before, not after Jeter left. Because if Judge wasn't drafted there, I don't know if the Yankees would even be in a conversation to getting Giancarlo Stanton traded there. I don't think it would have ever happened. And I think personally, when you look at the Yankees right now this year, and look at how they played this year with Aaron Judge to start the year out, they weren't really averaging a lot of freaking runs. When he was out, they could barely score any runs. When he got back, it was always on Aaron Judge. It didn't matter if he was out, it didn't matter if he was in, and the rest of the team could get the energy from it. They just didn't have the same buzz. They weren't the same team. Their pitching didn't help either. So you got alcoholic pitchers, you got bad bullpens. You let Aroldis Chapman go, your whole bullpen just dies. And Cashman is just a GM at this point that's completely burnt out and needs a change of scenery. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Cashman and Boone have to go. They have to go. And everyone wants to say, oh, it's really on Cashman. Boone's not really the issue. Boone's been the issue since he's been managing this team. He's been the issue since, let's be realistic, since he couldn't get past the ALCS twice against the Houston Astros. And even last season, 3 straight times, and you can't get by the Houston Astros. I thought at one point when they actually quit the series and they got swept and they lost the last 2 games at home, I thought this was it. There's no way Boone keeps his job after this. And boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. He kept his job. He kept his job. So, in reality, I look at that, I just shake my head because I'm just like, of course. They need a nostalgia at this point. They need Aaron Boone to be the grace and savior of this team because we no longer have Alex Rodriguez to rely on here for criticism, and we no longer have Derek Jeter to rely on for criticism at this point. The guy that was the sole reason we won championships. The guy that created dynasties, along with him and Mariano Rivera, Jason Giambi, Hideki Matsui. You know, guys like, let's see at this point, who else am I thinking of? Randy Johnson. You know, there's a lot of players involved in this whole thing. There are. And I look at it, and now I'm more even thinking about Randy Johnson was on the Arizona Diamondbacks, so he wasn't really part of that team that much. But you got to wonder that, or Tino Martinez was another piece of that organization piece. You know, and you wanted to have that with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, and all you got instead was Barry Bonds, who can never get by the Atlanta Braves in the NLCS, choking in the playoffs all the time. You got the Barry Bonds, and you got the Giancarlo Stanton, aka Alex Rodriguez, Mr. Steroids, Mr. Luxury Tax, Mr. I'm putting this team in debt, but I'm making money off of it cliche. Like, it was just everything about this Yankee team this year that was a complete monstrosity failure. It's happening right in front of us. That's the reality. That's why this team's at where they're at right now at this point, and that's why they're gonna go 15-25 the next 40 games or so. They're gonna be like, I would say about 10 games below 500. They'd be 75 and 85 by the end of the year. They're still finishing in last place. The Red Sox will finish in 4th place at 79 and 83. Don't get me started on them. Okay, they're another problem. They lost last night to the Nationals 6-2. In fact, you know what? I might as well just put up the scores from last night, even though there's some current baseball games that are on right now that were already on earlier today. I'll get into those scores in just a second here. But I will. Let me bring up the scores from last night. So before I continue in the Red Sox, I'll give you the scores. Mets beat the Pirates 8-3. Rays beat the Giants 6-1. Reds beat the Guardians 7. Oh, no. Okay, my laptop almost just shut down at the end of the stream. That would have not been good. That would have been terrible. Red Sox lost 6-2. Phillies beat the Blue Jays 9-4. I mentioned before the Yankees got shut out by the Braves 2-0. The Angels beat the Texas Rangers in Texas 2-0. Cubs beat the White Sox 4-3. Mariners beat the Royals 6-5. And they actually did go to final earlier and got a 6-4 win in Kansas City. So they're now 66 and 55. Padres beat the Orioles 5-2. Dodgers beat the Brewers 7-1. Tigers beat the Twins 8-7. Astros beat the Marlins 12-5. Diamondbacks beat the Rockies 9-7. The A's shut out the Cardinals in Busch Stadium in St. Louis 8-0. But let me go back to the Red Sox. What seemed like they had a fake win the night before, and they had a lousy loss last night. I don't know if what's been going on with Garrett Whitlock, really, what's been wrong with him mentally. His mechanics have been so far off at this point. I gotta say, as far as how bad his mechanics were, and they were terrible last night. And this is a guy that came in last night that shouldn't even came in. And the reality of it is they were down 2-0. 8th inning comes around. Reyes homers to the left side at this point. 2-run shot to tie the game at 2-apiece. Ruiz had that 3-run shot, and Garrett had a solo shot right after that one. So I think Whitlock should have been pulled right after that 3-run shot. Why Cora let them out there for dead here, I don't know. But he was a starting pitcher, and then he became a bullpen guy. I don't know if they're just messing with him at this point, and he's become a head case now, but he's not the same player. He's just not. I think coming back from his injury, he's been, I think, worse now. He's in his own head. He's beating himself up at this point. So there's a lot of cause for concern there as far as that whole thing comes into play here. So honestly, at this point, Whitlock, he should only be a starting pitching guy. He should not be you have a closer, you have some relief pitching. That's it. I actually heard some developing stories right now about Ryan Brazier today, the guy who used to play here for the Red Sox. Ironically, now plays for the Dodgers. His last 23 appearances, 1.16 ERA. That's unbelievable, by the way. Just got that result today. Pablo Reyes in the month of August, batting 400. OPS over 1,000 at this point. And Alex Cora believes that he's not an everyday player. Alex Cora's checked out. So his opinion at this point doesn't matter. He's trying to, put the narrative in everyone's head that Cheyenne Bloom doesn't know what he's doing as a manager. Look, let's put this in perspective. He's gotten one thing right in the span of, I'd say, 3.5 years at this point, as being a general manager for the Red Sox. Pablo Reyes was their saving grace. Pablo Reyes is not going to be the guy that saves his job. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. It's great and all, but let's get real here for a minute. I have one lucky break here out of the many disappointment years at this point, and in the final year of your contract at this point, and here you are getting a closer, finding a shortstop. It's about time, right? Jensen at this point, who I don't think is that good of a closer. As a matter of fact, I think he's past his prime at this point. He's, cooked. And last night's game goes with an example last night. Mackenzie Gore for the Washington Nationals, really good starting pitcher last night. He gets injured last night, but he was owning the Red Sox last night. Why can't we get someone like him in the starting rotation? I don't get it. Doesn't cost that much. You could have kept the Valdi. You could have gotten Gore. You could have gotten a closer. Instead, you overpay for your Shada. You overpay for your Fenway Sports stuff. And you're overpaying for a general manager who you may or may not even fire at the end of the year. This Red Sox team is on a totally different landscape at this point than the Yankees are. The Yankees don't need a rebuild at this point. They need a rehaul here. And I feel like that Jensen next year will be gone from this Red Sox team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went to the New York Yankees. Seriously, just wouldn't be surprised if Jensen would end up going there. And honestly, at this point, Pablo Reyes, he might end up going to the Yankees too. I have a funny feeling that's what's going to end up happening here. And you want to know what's going to end up happening next? The Yankees will get right back to normal like nothing happened. But they got to do it without Brian Cashman and without Aaron Boone. And as far as who replaces him as manager, like I said, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you who they were replacing with. Now, they could get Francona, because he's already checked out at this point. You could get the former Houston Astro manager, or you can get Dusty Baker. I mean, there's a lot of... You can get these guys out of contract or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Kevin Cash from the Rays, maybe. He's probably checked out as well at Tampa Bay at this point. Sam Cash. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. David Ross from the Cubs. I mean, I don't think realistically he's keeping his job anytime soon. I don't remember if he got an extension or not. I don't believe he did. But as far as the Red Sox go at this point, I think Ross could come back and be the manager for that Red Sox team next year. Or it could be a manager for the Yankees. I don't know. Right now, both teams are dysfunctional. They're not in the right frame of mind. And these next 10 games here, you're going to get the Houston Astros, the New York Yankees, which they should win that series. In fact, I have them sweeping the Yankees at this point. They've already swept the ones at the Yankees team this year anyway. They might as well do it again. They could do that. And as well as, I think they have the Dodgers at home. Actually, they're at Houston, I should say. Then they're at the Dodgers. And then they're at home against the Astros again. So you're getting 2 doses of Houston in Houston and at home. And you get the Dodgers at home as well. I mean, it's not good. It's not good at all. So we'll see what happens now going forward with this team. I don't know what you're going to get from this team, but it is what it is at this point. As far as the series went, as far as all these games went this week, because none of these teams are playing again tonight, the Reds took they evened up the series, actually. They play the Blue Jays tomorrow night. The Blue Jays, I believe, lost this series to the and they did. All right, no, they evened it up, actually. So they evened there. They only had a 2-game set. Braves, I know, swept the Yankees. I know that. The Angels had a no-no going last night Unfortunately, it didn't last. I believe they won the series. I think in Texas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here, and they lost this series. They actually almost got swept. So that was the only saving grace. They play the Rays at home tomorrow night as well. Astros, I believe, swept the I think the Astros, swept the Marlins. Like I want to say they actually did. Or took 2 out of 3, and they did. They took 2 out of 3. The A's and Cardinals, I haven't really been following that series this week, so I couldn't even tell you who won this series. And the Cardinals actually won the series 2 out of 3. So not bad. Padres, as far as I know, against the Orioles, they won the series 2 out of 3. They are still in 4th place right now at 58 and 63. The White Sox, I believe, took the series 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, or 2 out of 2. I think it was 2 out of 3, right? Yeah, I think that's what it was. The Mets, I know, for the Pirates, and the Rays took 2 out of 3 in San Francisco. So I know that. Tomorrow night for the Red Sox Yankees, it's Brian Billow against Brito. It's Lorenz, who the last time was on the mound for the Phillies. They're playing the Nationals. He threw a no-hitter, so that could happen again. In fact, I actually have my money on that, actually. Having back-to-back no-hitters for the Philadelphia Phillies. At this point, the Nationals are not that good. Okay? Realistically, they're not that good. I can see Lorenz throwing back-to-back no-hitters, though. And I'm trying to figure out the last time a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball actually did that. Can't remember. You got the Tigers at the Cleveland Guardians. You have the San Francisco Giants at the Atlanta Braves. I got the Braves sweeping the Giants. I have the Tigers sweeping the Cleveland Guardians in Cleveland. Red Sox sweep the Yankees. I have the Phillies sweeping the Nationals. I think the Reds take 2 out of 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Cubs sweep the Royals. The Mets and the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals take 2 out of 3. I think the Seattle Mariners take 2 out of 3 in Houston. I'm taking the Rockies at home against the White Sox 2 out of 3. I'm taking the Angels winning 2 out of 3 against Tampa Bay. I don't know what it is, but I have a funny feeling that will end up happening. Repeating one more time. Angels take the series over the Rays 2 out of 3. Padres beat the Diamondbacks, I think, in a sweep. Dodgers take the Marlins. Rangers sweep the Brewers. Twins take 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh, and I think the Orioles sweep the Oakland Athletics in Oakland. Those are my series predictions. As far as I'm giving you that now, because I'm going to give you my NFL preseason predictions tomorrow. In fact, that'll be the entire episode dedicated to that prediction. We do have schedule releases. I'm not going to give you all 30 teams in the NBA schedule released here, but this is what I guess it wasn't updated here at this point. But I'll give you the Celtics schedule, the key dates to look forward to. February 4th, they're playing the Memphis Grizzlies. It will be Marcus Smart's return. The Dallas Mavericks come to town with Grant Williams on March 1st. So the normal, usual matchup they get, early November. Sometimes they Mavericks play the Celtics in like late February or early December. You're getting the other way around. So I guess the Mavericks will be playing them later on in the year. I thought I'd get the schedule release on the schedule on here. I'll try ESPN.com as far as I know. I know Christmas night or Christmas Day, or it might be in the afternoon game. I'm not even sure. I think it might be the 5 o'clock one. It's Celtics at home against the Lakers, or it might be the Celtics on the road against the Lakers. I'm not 100% sure. I know the schedule was just released. I don't know what's going on with this phone today. This phone has been on drugs. We have UFC 292 on this weekend in Massachusetts. So that should be fun. I can't find the NBA on here. Here we go. Got the NBA schedule, I think, on here. So we have the. Is this the official? Let me look at this right now. So I'll give you I'll give you a couple of teams. I'll give you the Boston Celtics schedule first, and I'll give you the Warriors, and I'll give you a little bit of the possibly the Knicks and the Warriors. I'll give you those 3. Those are the 3 I'll give you today. First 3 games, the Celtics are at the New York Knicks opening night in Madison Square Garden, October 25th. The 27th, they're playing at home opener against the Miami Heat. The Washington Wizards are at home against the Celtics on October 30th. Let's see, my birthday, November 1st, they're home against the Indiana Pacers. November 4th, they're in Brooklyn. They're in Minnesota on November 6th. November 8th, they're playing at Philadelphia, and they come back at home for the in-season tournament, which is on November 10th. Because the 11th, they play The Raptors, I think, at that as well. They have a home game against the Knicks on the 13th. The 15th, they're at Philadelphia again. So they don't really have Philadelphia coming into Boston for a while here on here. Toronto, they have the Toronto Raptors in Toronto, that in-season tournament. They have the Memphis Grizzlies, which is interesting here because they have the Grizzlies first in Memphis in mid-November. They're at Charlotte. Then November 22nd, they have the Bucks, and then November 24th, they're in that dumb tournament again, playing the Orlando Magic. I don't know if they're playing at Orlando. They're at a neutral site location. I don't know what they're going to do with that. The Hawks are at the Celtics, as far as I know with that one. The Bulls are at the Celtics in the in-season tournament. By the way, the final days of these tournaments are December 9th, so thank God this is almost over soon. I guess I'm not even sure here. I guess they have a layaway, I guess, here, December 1st here. The way they did the scheduling this year is just weird for this dumb tournament. Anyway, they have a home game against the 76ers on December 1st. December 12th, they have the Cleveland Cavaliers at home. Back-to-back games at home, by the way, on December 14th against Cleveland. They play the Magic on the 15th and the 17th. The 19th, they're at Golden State to face the Warriors and Chris Paul. They're at the Sacramento Kings December 20th, December 23rd. They're playing the LA Clippers 25th. They're at the Los Angeles Lakers, so they're still going to be in the Staples Center. That will always be the Staples Center for me. It will not be Crypto.com. In fact, I don't think they're even calling it Crypto anymore because of that illegal tampering that Crypto was doing. Anyway, I know the Miami Heat didn't want to be called that anymore either. They're at home against the Pistons on the 28th. They're home against the Raptors. They're back on the road again, though, at San Antonio on the 31st of December. Start the new year out. They're on the road against the Thunder. Then they're back at home against the Jazz. They're back on the road again at Indiana. They have a back-to-back against Indiana on the 6th and the 8th. January 10th, they have the Minnesota Timberwolves at home. Then they go to Milwaukee on the 11th. 2 days after that, they have Ime Udoka's return, which I'm surprised they didn't hype this game up. This to me, for Boston Sports Radio, to have Ime Udoka and, I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a blank right now on the coach at this point, but and the other coach. Why am I drawing a blank right now on the coach? Oh God. Oh God, I can't even believe I'm actually drawing a blank on this. Can you believe this? Oh shoot. Why am I drawing a blank right now on the head coach of the Celtics at this point? Has my first name too. I can't think of the last name. Why am I drawing a blank on this? This is what I mean, and I know this too. Oh God. Joe Mazzulla. Okay, there we go. Thank you. I couldn't think of the last name. I don't know why I was thinking of Schreiber or Schuba. I'm losing my mind. I am losing my mind. By the way, Kristen Zorpingas, I meant to mention earlier, has plantar fasciitis, the same foot injury that Kemba Walker and Kyrie Irving had, and unfortunately will be missing time. He's out for the FIBA World Cup. They're going to say now 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of people are saying right now it might be worse. I didn't think they could win a championship without Zorpingas at this point. I think getting rid of Marcus Smart was the right thing to do. You lose a defensive presence, but I just think that realistically was the real issue right now, was Marcus Smart's locker room antics in this whole thing. And really, in reality, not living up to the investment that Rick Grossberg would have wanted, instead of having Jimmy Butler on the team. That would have been a realistic trade for Boston, Miami to go through. Anyway, you have Wembeya's TD Garden debut 4 days after that. But before we get into that one, they play at the Raptors. The Spurs come to town on the 17th. You have the defending champions on January 19th coming in. The Denver Nuggets facing the Boston Celtics. I think that might be, I want to say that's a Wednesday, I want to say at this point. Or a Friday. I don't even know. I think the Celtics and Heat are on a Thursday. I gotta look at that schedule again. But Missoula and the and Adoga meet again in Houston 8 days after that. They play the Rockets. They're at the Mavericks, then they're at the Heat, then they're home against the Clippers. Then they have the Pelicans at home, and they have the Pacers at home. For February, I mentioned before, they have the Lakers. Oh, they have the Lakers and the Grizzlies and the Hawks. Very interesting 3-game homestand here for those opponents there. Then you have the Wizards. You're going to be facing Jordan Poole. What do you do? Then you're at Miami. Then you have Brooklyn, at Brooklyn, then at home, and then you're at Chicago 8 days after that. It's a really weird schedule. Then you're at the Knicks on a Saturday night on ABC. I think that's the first game, I believe, right? Against New York in that ABC series, I think. I'm not even sure. It might even start sooner than that. You got 76ers at the Celtics. You have Mavericks and Celtics again. Then you have Warriors Celtics on March 3rd. March 5th, they'll be at Cleveland. They're at Denver, at the Phoenix Suns. And they play the Phoenix Suns. This is how late they're playing them. Okay. At the March 9th, you're at Portland, then you're at Utah. Then you come back home to face the Suns on March 14th. This is like the week of St. Patrick's Day. Because on St. Patrick's Day itself, they'll be at the Washington Wizards. Then they come back home to face the Pistons. Then 2 days later, they face the Bucks. And then they're at Detroit. Then they're at Chicago, at Atlanta for a 2-game set there on the 25th and 28th, 3 days apart. They're at the Pelicans. Then they have 8 games in April, which is at the Hornets, the Thunder, the Kings, the Trailblazers, the Bucks, and the Knicks. I don't know why I have this feeling, but if Porzingis ends up missing the rest of the season, I feel like they'll lose both those games. I have a funny feeling they're going to lose to LeBron and the Lakers. I feel like Denver, they can win at home, but the Lakers, I feel like somehow have the number. I don't know what it is. As far as the depth goes, I think it's deeper. I think with that team than the Celtics are. I just, but of how far in length the Suns matchup is. I mean, you think that and these home games are interesting here because Phoenix and Golden State at home the same month, late in the year, true testament here. And I think this was a smart move by the NBA because you're competing with the NFL if you do this in like late November or late December. You're competing with like wrapping up the NFL season, playoff time, and all that stuff like that. It makes sense. This right I thought was brilliant. I mean, you have the Nuggets and the Suns on back-to-back road games. That's tough road games right there. You're playing back-to-back in the West Coast. Then you're at Portland. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be facing Lillard by that point anyway. If he even stays with Portland, who the hell knows? Maybe Boston will get him in a trade. I don't know. But it's looking a little interesting this year. If I'd have predicted what the record was, with Porzingis being missing the FIFA World Cup, whatever that will be, I don't even know what that date's going to be at this point. Missoula's got a lot on this plate. Especially for a guy like me who's got to try to remember his last name. I know the name started with a Joe. Okay, I know my coaches. I know I already went on a Missoula rant about this whole thing and why he should be back in West Virginia at this point as a coach there because he can't handle the pressures of the NBA sometimes. And look, in reality, at this point, does this Porzingis injury is it a setback as far as trust goes without Marcus Smart being there and forcing their hand? I don't know. There's a lot of things that I'm unsure about when it comes to the Celtics team. There really is. As far as what the record's going to be, I can see this team going to 60 wins. I mean, I can see a 60-22 year. They're the number 2 seed once again. I think Milwaukee goes in at 62-20. I think the Sixers, if you want my honest opinion about them, I think finish with a 59-23 record. I think regardless of – because I think Embiid sticks around. I think Harden sticks around. I can't see James Harden pulling the fat trade again, trying to get out of Houston to go to Brooklyn. I just can't see him doing that twice. I can't. So I don't think that's going to happen. Let's see what the Suns open up with, because I wasn't doing Knicks and Warriors, but I'm kind of interested right now on what the Suns are going to do this year. Suns played the Golden State Warriors on opening night in Golden State, which that should be interesting. 2 days later at the Lakers. Then they have their home opener against the Utah Jazz. So that'll be interesting there. Nice little tidbit there with Danny Ainge at this point. And It kind of depends if Utah will be good this year. If they're going to be a playoff team or not, that yet to be seen. And then they play the Spurs and Wemby's debut against a really tough team. So that'll be interesting. And they have a back-to-back with that team. I'm not going to get through the entire thing. I'll give you the big marginal games. They're at home against the Warriors the week of Thanksgiving. As far as Christmas Day goes, I'm not going to give you the rundown here of the whole thing, but they are playing on Christmas Day. I thought they would. I guess not. They're not playing on Christmas Day? No? All right. So no Christmas. Oh, yeah, they are playing Christmas Day. That's right. I figured they would be. Dallas Mavericks they have at home on Christmas Day. That should be an interesting game. It's Luka versus Kevin Durant. That should be interesting and a little bit of fun. My predictions right now with the Suns this year, and I will say this about the Suns right now. I don't think Durant's aging. I don't think injuries and rest management will become a factor because of that whole new CBA thing. This is where the regular season is going to start to matter here, and where season's going to start to matter. I think the Suns get the number 1 seed this year. There's no doubt about that. I think that team this year can pull off 69 wins and 13 losses. With the schedule they have right now this year, and I can tell you this right now, I think they beat Golden State on opening night. I think they beat the Warriors. They sweep the Warriors this year. I don't think the Warriors even touch this team this year, because as far as Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green being there, and you have an aging Chris Paul, like that whole depth of that bench is literally relying on a veteran who should have never lost his job in the first place, who looks like he's going to lose his job. But you look at deep in the run here of things, in the span of things, it's just that team. When you really look at it closely, who's going to beat this team? Realistically, on paper, who could beat this team? Nobody. Denver, maybe. But I think Denver comes in at number 2 here. I think they're 63-19. I think that the third place team that's going to come in out of all this, and it's, I look at it and I'm thinking in my head, like, all right, well, maybe they can make some noise. I think it's the Los Angeles Lakers. You finally got rid of Russell Westbrook, that distraction. I mean, that team in of itself needed to get away from that guy anyway. So that's that. But 70 wins I could see for the Suns. So Milwaukee, who they open up on opening night, they have the 76ers at home on opening night. Then they have the Hawks and they have the Miami Heat here. Again, I'm not going to go through the entire schedule like I did with the Celtics, because I didn't realize I was going to take all the time in the world at that point, but it did. They have the dumb in-season tournament thing again, which they have on that November 3rd against the Knicks. Let's fast forward to Christmas Day. Nothing compelling there on that, but they are playing the New York Knicks on Christmas Day at 12 o'clock Monday. So they're going to try to compete with a triple header for football on that day, because they have a 1 o'clock, 4:30, and an 8:15 game, I believe. That will be interesting. That'll be an interesting watch at that point. Are we going to get the same Knicks from last year? Really competitive Knicks team at this point, a really good Buck team. I mean, we don't know. And I think realistically, the way I look at it, if I had to predict the NBA Finals this year, and on paper right now, I would say this, and I don't think it's the Bucks this year. I can see this being a Celtics-Suns NBA Finals and I want to say with Missoula losing short to the Suns in 6, and I would say maybe in 6 or 7 games. And I think Bradley Beal might be the MVP. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I sense it that way, but I kind of look at the whole scenario behind it. I don't think this is Durant's team. I don't. As crazy as it sounds, I don't think it's Bradley. I don't think it's Devin Booker's team anymore now either. In fact, even with Durant there, I think Durant was just there as the guy competing with Devin Booker. But reality was Booker and Durant were tied. Bradley Beal has always been number 1. I don't think he'll be number 3 or number 2. I don't see it. There's too many number 1s in that team. But this will be a battle of Bradley Beal versus Jaylen Brown. And if Bradley Beal wins the MVP over the Celtics here and wins the NBA Finals, that blows up right in your face. Because you could have traded away Jaylen Brown and that ridiculous contract for Bradley Beal. That could come into play here. That could. And I think it will. I don't see how it doesn't. if it's not Suns Celtics here, I would say Nuggets Celtics. I think with Nikola Djokovic being the MVP. Well, I guess he's the Celtics this year choking again this year in the NBA Finals with Joe Mazzulla as head coach. Although they choked with Udoka as head coach in the finals, but they didn't make the NBA Finals last year with Mazzulla, obviously. But they lost in 7 games to the Heat. But in my honest opinion, I think no matter how you look at, no matter how you slice it and dice it, the Celtics right now at this point, going to the NBA Finals, and I think making a key statement here. Because the Celtics need to win the NBA. They do need to win the NBA Finals. There's no question about it. But I don't think it's their time. I think it's I think the following year they'll probably win it. And maybe Zorpingas will win the MVP. And that'll be a hell of a story because instead of being Brown or Tatum. But here's my question: would that affect their legacy this way? Do they need to be the MVP of the finals in order for that team to win? This is more about Zorpingas going to a winning team at this point. It's really more about him establishing himself at this point. Like, let Tatum and Brown duke it up for the number one position. Like, let me be the guy that brings Boston a championship. And I know the guy's gonna be there for 2 years, but here's the thing: I don't see that guy going anywhere else. I don't see anybody else really wanting to pick him up in the near future with his plantar foot injury here. If he goes and plays for Germany and Russia here, I mean, he's not playing the United States. He's not. Like Hardy right now wants to play for China right now at this point. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. So that was a long show. Not an hour, but a pretty long show nevertheless here. I will be back on here tomorrow to talk NFL preseason football. I don't think I missed anything today as far as that goes. NBA schedule, I give you a release on that one. The Celtics get predictions I gave you. I will say this though. I think the Celtics this year have a really good chance this year of going to the NBA Finals. The problem with that is you got to contend with teams like Milwaukee, Miami, and I think the Knicks are in that conversation as well as going forward. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Harden will get traded to the New York Knicks and things will be different. But otherwise, it's Philadelphia is not going to be in that conversation anytime soon. I mean, you'll probably see another 7-game series with the next season or this season in the playoffs coming up. But I'm just saying, giving you a fair warning now that is going to be your NBA playoff prediction. And I gotta say, realistically, if you're a Boston Celtics fan, you should be happy that I'm predicting this. And I'm a Celtics fan predicting this. I believe me, I don't like the idea of predicting this team losing the NBA Finals. But they're not a team right now that would win. Tatum, to me, in my honest opinion, needs to get away from Jaylen Brown. That's it. And if that means at the end of all this, he doesn't get the extension he wants right now and he leaves the Boston Celtics, that'd be a mistake, by the way, if they let him go. But if I just say where he ends up going at the end of all this, and it's crazy to think about, but it is a thought bubble that popped in my head. What if he ended up really, and I gotta say realistically, what if he ended up in Phoenix with Kevin Durant, with Bradley Beal, and he won an NBA Finals MVP? Because really, in reality, this is the thing. Excuse me. They were more invested on Jaylen. Excuse me. They're more invested on Jaylen Brown right now more than Jason Tatum. That's why they gave Jaylen Brown the 5-year, $305 million extension. That deal screamed out to me, I'm willing to put all my marbles into this deal. And if this deal blows up in their faces, this is nothing. This is all on Rick Rosbachuk. 100%. I'm not saying he should step down and not be the owner anymore of the team at that point. But when you know in your mind that you're putting your eggs in one basket on a guy who doesn't even deserve it, I think Tatum deserves it more than anything else. Brown proved that he's just a quitter. Okay, he figured, you know what? Oh wow, Tatum got injured. I mean, he's sticking it to me at this point. That was his attitude. And Brown does not want to be in Boston. He doesn't. But good luck trying to find anybody else who's going to sign up for that contract deal. It's not going to happen. So that's all there is to it. All right, you can follow me on my social media. I have Snapchat, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, I have Bleacher Report, TikTok, and the rest of the deal. Tomorrow I'll be previewing the Patriots. I'll give you the rest of my predictions for preseason. I got the Eagles beating the Browns tonight, and that's all you really need to know. I'm going to close this out. I'll see you all tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't rain tomorrow. If it does, well, we'll see how my travel arrangements go. I'm out. Later.